Hey guys, so I've got a game on with a player. This is a 30-minute game with a player rated 919. So we're going to be looking now at people in the 900 to 1000 category. What should they be looking out for? How can they improve their play? So I've started with d4 and we have d5. So I'm going to go ahead and play the London system. Bring my bishop out to f4, so it's outside of my pawn chain, and now then I'm going to complete this triangle of pawns in front of my queen. Notice that it will also protect my king, which is on a dark square, so I'm putting all my pawns on dark squares for additional security. Okay. This is an odd one, moving the f-pawn so early in the game. Is he thinking of playing g4 and trying to kick my bishop? That's not a problem. So at this point, we are in the opening, and the idea is to develop pieces into the board in an orderly manner. So I'm going to move my e-pawn next, which releases my light squared bishop. I'm not concerned about any attacks down here. The queen can't come out, and neither can the dark squared bishop, so I don't have to worry about my king being on an open diagonal here. So the next move for me is usually c3. Sometimes you might want to put your knight on there. Okay, so I'm going to bring my other bishop out now. Usually you will tend to develop your knights before your bishops. Now in this case, when we've got this face-off between the bishops, there's a couple of approaches. g3 is one idea. So if bishop takes, you capture with a g-pawn, then you get a semi-open file down there. Another one is to drop the bishop back to g3, and then if takes on here, you take with the h-pawn. I'm going to play this one. So if we have an exchange, it means I get to... Oh, he's trapped me! No, he hasn't, has he? Yes, he has. That was dodgy. Oh, no. Okay. Okay, if I take now, bishop takes... I have queen h5 check with a fork on the bishop and the king, so there we go, I've regained my piece. Okay, I should have been watching out for that trap instead of banging on. So yeah, I mean clearly I've just taken away one of the only escape routes for my bishop there. Those two squares are clearly out of bounds. That was just a rash and premature move. Okay, so we've got queen out now. Now I can capture the rook, and it would be foolish not to do so. So let's go ahead and take the rook. The knight is now undefended, so this is what you really have to be working on around this rating range, spotting your undefended pieces. So if I use my goldfish technique, I'm going to highlight any undefended pieces. That's defended by that. The knight is now defended by the bishop, and so is the pawn. Pawn's defending that, queen's defending that, rook's defending that, and this pawn is actually undefended. Okay, doesn't take long to do and makes a massive difference to your play. Okay, so with that in mind, there's only one undefended piece on my opponent's side. This pawn is actually defended by my queen. Defended, defended. Okay, and so everything is actually defended on my side apart from the queen herself. And I'm actually a rook up, surprisingly. So it would make sense now to think about continuing development. I would like to castle, and I think castling queenside looks preferable. That'd be the king to here and then rook straight there onto a semi-open d-file. It's semi-open because there's no white pawn on it, there's only a black pawn. If there's no pawns on it at all, it would be an open file. So if I bring my knight out here, helps cover the pawn. The pawn's actually then technically undefended, but then I can castle. Is there any reason not to go ahead and move that knight right now? Another thing I might think about as well is we've both got light squared bishops, and currently all these pawns on the queen side are on dark squares, which means both of our bishops can move freely around the board. Could also put my queen on e5, basically pinning black's bishop, but I don't really see much mileage in that. I think I'm just going to carry on developing my knights. I think I'll move this one out, then this one to c3, then I can castle. Bishop has to defend that knight. It's the only defender of that knight. And this is what the arrows can show you. You know, if you show what's defending what, then, okay, so there's no point in capturing that. Pawn takes, and no dice. Do always have to be careful about the possibility of my queen getting trapped by something. So let's say black castles now, and then should this knight move, say knight goes to here, that would actually trap my queen. So I'm tempted now to bring my queen away. This also means now that if black castles that away, the king's going to be on the c8 square. It means I can go in and grab that pawn if I wish. But my current priority clearly is to get castled. I think queen here looks safe. Now the knight is pinned, and I'm still attacking this pawn here as well. So I think that pawn move actually on black's part, if you look at this layout here, black's position is pretty good at this point. He just needs to castle. Get his rook onto the semi-open file to support this pawn. Obviously, maybe you can't castle straight away because of that, but you know, there's very little safety on the queen side for his king now. There's no e pawn, there's no f pawn at all, right? So he really wants to be castling here, and then you have to think, well, is this a credible attacking move? No, well, I can just move my queen away like that, and now he's pushed another pawn. So the king's safety now on the queen side is very much in question. So what's he planning to do? He wants to play b5 and squeeze my queen further. But my queen's got, where can I go? That's available. None of these are. I still have a good square there on f4 if I need it. So what that says to me is I don't have to move my queen right now. So, yeah, I'm inclined to move my knight. If my knight here pushes, I'm okay there. I think knight there is all right. And if we have this pawn down, oh, okay, so let's attack my bishop. Oh, he's coming after my bishop again. Well, I'll tell you what. He knows about trapping bishops, doesn't he? Okay. I can take that pawn, right? So this is another really important difference between beginners, and by that I mean kind of sub 1,000, and players above 1,000 who getting stronger. So I see that my bishop is under attack, right? But what I'm going to do is I'm thinking about all of my possibilities here. So one idea that I see is if I take that pawn with my knight, okay, I'm attacking black's queen, and then it also means that I can capture that pawn with my bishop, right? So if I take that, okay, and bishop captures, which would make sense, then I can take that pawn with my bishop. And I've traded my knight for 2 pawns, and right now I'm up a whole rook and a pawn, so that's not too bad. So I'm going to go ahead and try that approach. All right, so now if bishop takes, I get this pawn, and we may trade bishops or we may not, but the point is now black's pawns in the middle of the board are busted open, and if he exchanges bishops, then that's not a good idea. Yeah, I think that was a decent move by my opponent here. I think this is the only sensible looking move. It allows black to castle, but I think that's just suicidal to castle that way now. I could move my queen to a5 and prevent castling. It means the king can't pass through that square. But I'm quite happy with this. And I may even capture the knight here. The knight is hanging technically right now. Castling would protect the knight with the rook. The other thing I want to do, of course, is castle my own king. Okay, so should I just grab the free knight? I think I should. Is there any threat? Got knight check there, pawn can take. Knight check there. I would have to move my king. If he wants to exchange, I think I kind of feel safer at this point in time. I'm still up in material. So I think the pragmatic approach would probably be to castle my king now, get my rook onto d1, and then think about this knight. Yes, it's free material, but I think, you know, I don't have to try too hard right now to get an advantage. I already have an advantage in the game. All right, and now I can simply grab the knight, which was undefended. Really, really key thing. And that's why I recommend this goldfish approach. The idea is that you're pretending that you have no memory, and that every time you see the board, you're seeing it for the first time. So you have to scan the entire board, and you have to say, okay, well, what's undefended? And what's defending what? Okay, these rooks are defending each other. They're defending the queen, the king's defending these, you know. Not difficult to do. Okay. Now we have an attack on the queen herself. So let's, can't go there, there. Can go there, can't go there, can go there, can't go there, and technically can go there, which would actually attack black's queen. So out of these three squares, which do we like? Of course I can't, I'm not even on that rank, so it's pretty... I'm just going to move to c3 then. I mean, I could put one piece on here, for example, but then we have like queen takes. No, he's got too many pieces looking at that square. Yeah, I'm just going to move to c3. It means I can always dive back here if I need to. Always need to watch out for the knight coming to this square though. And now this looks safe. My bishop's still undefended. But you see, there's been far too many pawn moves on black's part. These pawns are way in front, way out in front. There's no king protection. So, you know, as you improve in chess, you really do need to find this... Oh, hello. I missed that completely. Well, that was a decent move. Okay. I also have thoughts now putting my bishop here. All right. When did that occur then? It's been hanging for an awful long time, isn't it? There you go. And there's me preaching about the importance of spotting undefended pieces. Yeah. So the rook technically was defended. It was just attacked by a bishop. Okay. So no massive loss. I've lost the exchange there, but I'm still up actually a whole bishop now, rather than a whole rook. So, what can we do? The queen is under attack, that's pressing. So I'm inclined to come over this side of the board. This pawn is undefended, queen's defending that, queen's defending that, that pawn's defending that, and the knight's defending this one. Okay, so everything over the king side is, you know, relatively tight. So I'm thinking like queen to here looks reasonable. It's attacking this undefended pawn, and then I've also got ideas of check from there as well. Okay, it's an attack on the queen and defending the pawn, so not a bad move, but it allows me to play queen b5, which delivers check and attacks the knight. And the knight cannot block the check. That's the important thing. Queen to here is no good. Queen to here is no good. Okay, so now we've got there, but now, actually, on the previous move, I could simply have captured the knight with my bishop, couldn't I? Anyway, so, yeah, let's take with the bishop. And now I'm up 2 minor pieces. So kind of scrappy performance on my part as well. Doing a bit too much talking and not enough checking what's undefended, but the situation is very comfortable. And one of the big challenges in chess is to be able to convert a winning or won position. It sounds a bit nonsensical, but it's very true. It can be very easy to, when a player who might be higher rated gets in front in material, it is a real challenge to see it through to completion. Okay, so that's what I'm going to try and do now. Although my opponent's rated like 600 points lower than me, what I need to practice at all times is this idea of just playing the evilest moves I can. And right now I'm liking the look of Queen d5 because it's a checkmate threat. So Queen g8 would be an instant checkmate. So is my opponent looking over his shoulder enough? Is he sensitive to the danger? So that would be checkmate. Queen can't block because we simply have queen takes queen, and that's checkmate. Okay, there we go. Quick checkmate there. So let's whiz through again quickly. Reasonable start. And it's because this pawn is here, right? I should have spotted that. I shouldn't play g3 because it simply traps my bishop. Now, fortunately, after this exchange, 1, 2, 3, 4, now what my opponent didn't spot is the basic tactic of the fork, right? And the queen comes out here, attacking both the bishop and the king, and there's no way of defending both. The bishop is a dark square bishop, so it can't interpose, it can't get onto either of these squares, which would have been fine. And likewise, the knight is on a light square, so its next move has to be onto a dark square, so it can't get in the way. The only piece that can interpose is that pawn moving to g6, then the bishop falls, then the rook falls. So despite the fact that it looked like I was about to lose a bishop, I can't take credit for it being a genius plan because it wasn't. Okay, and now I'm developing knights, bring my queen out of trouble because I spotted the possibility of a trap, right? If the knight had moved to block this square, queen's guarding that, king castles, and then my queen would actually fall. So I did spot one trap in that game. Developed my other knight, which I figured was safe enough. Now, again, I missed the threat. He really wanted my light square bishop, eh? So I trade the light square bishop now for 2 pawns, which is better than just losing a bishop for no pawns. And he's attacked it again. My light square, I don't know how my light square bishop has survived this far into the game. And we take there. I move the queen back, blunder my rook, but it's only for a bishop, so still ahead in material. Come back to here, and now the attack. And what I missed was, because I didn't do the full goldfish routine, that my bishop was clearly guarding that square. So I moved back with check anyway, which was still winning the knight. King moves, then I capture. Rook comes across, checkmate threat, missed, and checkmate. So there you go. So I think there's, I would say that my opponent in this instance had maybe more of a mind on attacking than on defending. And it's really just a case of you need both, right? You need to have your defensive side covered, and you need to know what at least your attacking ideas are. You need to spot your opponent's weak areas. You particularly need to look out for hanging pieces, which my opponent didn't do in this case on a couple of times, but also, one that I missed as well. So it's not a completely model game by any means. But these are the kinds of things you need to be looking out for if you want to get to 1000 and beyond, which is the entire point of what Chess Bootcamp is all about. Then, yeah, don't neglect your defense. I think that's a really key thing, and certainly something that's very much on my mind at the moment. You know, I've been in situations where I'm ahead in material in games, and I know that if I had paid equal attention to my defense as my offense, then I could probably have converted a few games that I've lost or drawn recently. Okay, so if nothing else, always ask yourself, why did my opponent play that last move? What's his idea? What's he thinking? But also, just make sure your defensive structure is in place first, and try and coordinate your pieces so that everything's more or less defended. Unless it's out and it's attacking your opponent, try and make sure that everything is covered by at least one piece, preferably more than one. And when you watch Grandmaster games, you'll see that happening all the time. So there you go. There's a game against the 900 rated player. I hope you've taken some points from it. Please subscribe to Chess Bootcamp if you haven't subscribed, so that you can keep up to date on every time I release a video. Just about one a day at the moment. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.